Is my grandpa secretly Commissioner Gordon? What burger of the day do I want to eat today?
How does Ben Grimm have children?
How is Hope gonna get herself out of this one?
Let's have a conversation.
Hello, welcome to Conversations with the Goob. That's me. Let's have a conversation. So, last week we got to see that unboxing video, probably pretty long, and if you liked it, you liked it. If you didn't, well, I'm sorry I bored you. But I had fun doing it. It came out after Christmas, so I still do have my Christmas decorations out, but that's because I'm filming a bunch of videos in one day, and I wasn't going to take everything off the table for a video. But you know what? We leave this stuff out until like March anyway. So, so this week, it kind of goes along with the videos I'm recording about relationships. You can kind of understand why more when I connect it to next week's video. But I want to talk about a great cartoon that I think is underappreciated. I think it gets slept on. It's a Regular Show. Regular Show ran for what, 7 seasons and at least 2 movies, I believe. And I mean, it was a great show. And I'm watching it, and a lot of it is just silly humor. But then you have these parts where it connects to things, and you're like, well, I can relate to that. Regular Show is about Mordecai and Rigby. 2 guys, they're not really fresh out of high school. It's maybe like 2 years outside of high school when a show first starts. Mordecai tried to go to art school, and he got overwhelmed and ended up quitting because he just wasn't ready for college yet, and he wasn't. So they're young adults. Rigby gets kicked out of his parents' house because they realize that he's a slacker and he's not going anywhere and he's not going to grow up, so they needed to force him to. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate to that their high school's over, they're not really college material, but they don't want to grow up. So the 2 of them were best friends in high school, so since they were both out on their own now, they were looking for a place to work and live, and they stumble upon the park. And the park, has a house in the middle of it that everyone that works there is allowed to live at, except for Muscle Man, who lives in a trailer somewhere in the park. But, again, because he works there, he's allowed to. Oh, and I guess Skips has his own house. So they just live in Pop's house, and Pop lives in the attic. But it's a shared house, even when, Benson, their boss, who lives on an apartment outside the park, he comes to visit, or comes to work. He uses the kitchen a lot. He'll come there for breakfast a lot of times, or dinner. But getting off track. It's a fun show, and a lot of it's just goofy humor, over the top. But then the over the top things just represent that. It's just to be entertaining, but like a lot of times they represent just like how overwhelming some things can be. Let's see. There was they were playing video games, and like even though that's not important, it was still getting like intense for them. So and they had they just Mordecai not trying to hook up with the girl that he's got a crush on, and like all of a sudden the guardian of the friend zone comes in and like forces him to either make a move or accept that he's just a friend with her forever, and he makes a move, but it's like so intense because those feelings when you're in that moment, like it's actually more intense than just how boring sometimes they overshadow it on normal sitcoms. But I'm watching this and I'm seeing these guys, and I'm like definitely able to understand Mordecai being afraid to hook up with the girl, not wanting to do the work but still wanting to get by, college being scary, just growing up. Funny things like he butt dials and leaves a funny voicemail, and so he tries to delete it, and that goes haywire. Getting a song stuck in your head, and so all of a sudden now the song took a life of its own, and they have to defeat the song. But you've all been there when a really bad song is stuck in your head and you just can't stop singing it. So I looked up the show after it ended because, and I'll get more into the ending, I guess, with the Three Loves video next, because the ending actually makes sense when you think of that. But I look up the show. It's by J.G. Quintel, and he has a DeviantArt page, and he made a lot of comments on there before, while the show was getting off the ground and stuff. And the show is supposed to be based off of that in between time when you're not really an adult, but you're not a kid anymore. You're not a teenager anymore. You're outside of high school. You're not really ready for college. You're still growing up. You're still learning, and it hits that a lot. There's so many episodes that just get really real, even with the over-the-top stuff. It's them learning their mistakes, learning to be better friends to each other and other people, learning to be less selfish, learning why we need rules. There's an entire episode where they don't like the house rules and they're getting so upset about it, so they find this place where there are no rules, and then it turns out that not having rules sucks, and they get kicked out of the place because they're trying to change the rules, make rules. And it's just they learn that, and it keeps going. Now it does get really crazy where they get sent into outer space and they have to defeat something, and then all of a sudden it turns out that Pops has an evil Pops of him that he has to defeat, and they come back down. But all that aside, there's a lot of real life issues that a lot of people go through that are presented really well in this. And like I said, they go over the top because that's a lot of times you feel overwhelmed and over the top in those moments. But the show ends. So first we get Mordecai, and then there's his one girlfriend, Margaret. That's the first girl he's crushing on for the first 3 seasons, and then they date for a season and then break up. And then there's this other girl, CJ, who doesn't sound right. Yeah, CJ. They get together, and they don't, they're great friends, and she thinks it's more, and blah, blah, blah. I'll do more into that in the next one, too. But, so then you think this whole time, when they go into outer space, they show CJ watching him get blasted off into space, and she kind of goes and clicks it off, but at the same time she has this look on her face like she misses him, even though he ruined things with her because of a lack of communication. And I'll talk more about that in the next one as well. It kind of fits in with the prior week's video, but and then so now you're thinking there's 2 girls that they've been shipping him with this entire time. So he's going to end up with one of them. And you think he's going to end up with one of them. That's what you've been expecting. But then no, all of a sudden they show this flash forward after they get back from outer space. Mordecai and Rigby have finally grown up. Rigby, I think, stuck around the park still. I know it showed him with Eileen, and they had kids and stuff. And he's actually being an adult and growing up, even though he was the worst of the 2. And then, Mordecai goes to college and finishes his art degree. And they show him, growing up and moving on. Well, then all of a sudden this random girl out of nowhere comes in, and it's that's who he marries. Random girl we've never met before. And you don't expect that in a TV series. TV series, they always have, these are the 2 people and one of them's going to be the girl, and everyone's always arguing over who he's going to end up with, and he'll end up with one of them, and it'd be like if you're watching Smallville and Clark had Lana and then Lois that he was dating, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere he marries some unnamed girl that we've never met before. It just came out of nowhere. And at first I'm a little upset about that, but then I started thinking about my own life, and it connects. And I'm going to get into that in the next video, because I'm going to talk about what's called the 3 loves theory, and it fits with this TV series and how he grabs life, that part of life and growing up. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video. If you haven't watched regular show, you should. If you have, tell me what your favorite character is down below. Let's have a conversation about it. If you haven't, I want you to check it out and let me know what you think about it down below. As always, you don't need to have superpowers to be a hero.